Hey guys, we're Team Vital. We're working on creating a solution that'll help multiple groups communicate better during disaster relief situations. I'm Jackie.
I'm Will. Adam. Caesar.
This week we narrowed down our problem statement even more, where we want to focus on tracking the supplies that are brought into a region by different groups, and we also want first responders to be able to track each other. So like potentially on a map they could see where each other are, they can see where supplies are brought in, they can see where supplies are delivered to people in need.
So I worked some more on the customer profiles, and Christine really challenged me to stick to the jobs that work immediately in response to a disaster. So some of them are still up here from last week. I changed the ages around to made them narrower age ranges. Go to the next one. So yeah, like I said, I mean, we wanted a narrower age gap for, an increased level of fitness. You can go to the next one. And then next one, the really important one, we were asked about this, we included victims. So like, obviously that's a really important customer profile. However, we're still having internal discussion about how to kind of peg that into not peg it, but identify kind of an age goal and attribute range, because really victims could be anybody. So that's going to be a big part of what we talk about going forward. Yeah. And here's a couple more. Emergency dispatchers are huge. They're the ones that communicate the orders. And another thing we need to really identify, and something we've been slowly working on since day one, is identifying who is the most important user.
So along with our new problem statement, we kept going with the comment to show, because I think it's a pretty good representation of what our problem is. So instead of focusing like last week and the week before on people, we decided to focus on the movement of supplies, because they can be just as detrimental to refugee camps or any survivors. So in this, it shows a scenario that we want our app to kind of fix. It's people, they don't know where a water truck is because their refugee camp is almost out of water. And if they had a way to track the water tank, or they knew where other water tanks were that were closer, they might be able to, cut down the time on getting water to the people. So that's our new comics, just showing the new problem statement that we came up with.
And some of our aha moments this week is to kind of like narrow down the app into focusing, being able to track supplies and then track where first responders are in an area.
Yeah, I mean, another thing, if we do stick to the idea of an app, some advice that was echoed to us from a few interviewees was that start with a proof of concept in a small targeted area, like for example, our campus would be a great place to start. Prove that the app works in a small controlled environment, and then try to scale it up from there.
So our hypothesis for this week, should our app focus more on supply movements or more on people? That wasn't conclusive. We still need more interviews, and we need to talk to more people about that. Should our app focus on private crowdsourcing or public crowdsourcing? Basically, public just talking to everybody, or private just talking to specific people that you want to talk to. That's also inconclusive. This is kind of a double-edged sword. With public crowdsourcing, you get a lot of information, but really how much of that is useful? You need a way to sift through it quickly and accurately. With private, you do get specific and what you're looking for, but also you don't get a lot of it. And the third one is, should we focus more on first responders talking to each other, or people talking directly to first responders? Both are extremely important, and we're just going to need to have more interviews to figure out which one we want to focus on.
We'll likely get more closure on these hypotheses tomorrow, which is when our really big interview with Shadrach Roberts is. That's probably going to be a huge source of information for us. In the future direction of our project.
We didn't really much change.
Yep. We changed these a little bit based off a few new customer jobs we saw coming in here, such as locating and delivering the resources people need, medical triaging, and deciding who will deliver what and where, which is now a very big, important part of our app. And some of the surfaces we have are one unified platform for communication, tracking supplies in a region, and tracking the first responders in a region, as a continuation of what we saw in the last slide. As far as game creators, we have spending less time looking for data and more time getting resources where they're needed is still a very important one. And our big pain relief is information about where supplies are and when they're delivered, as well as first responders knowing each other's locations through our improved map tracking. We also updated our mission achievement impact factors and the quantities we're going by for them. So now we have our success determined by the percentage of victims reported, the percentage of victims who report in and in turn receive help, the number of people who respond to any type of alerts that we send to them, the number of people who submit information, the number of organizations that use submitted information to help provide assistance. This hasn't changed since we inception.
Future plans, we're hoping tomorrow will be a pretty big game changer in like the direction we're heading. It's definitely our biggest interview yet. His name's Shadrach Roberts, but he's been working in like humanitarian disaster relief for like 20 years. He like founded the Geo Center, so he knows a lot more than we do about crowdsourcing and whether or not we should go that direction or not.
This is our MVP. It's just going to show a couple of things. It's a little confusing without the program to show it how it works, but basically this is kind of an example of an alert you're going to get. This is another alert you're going to get. You're going to have the option to take a pictures of your surroundings, of yourself, of any kind of situation you're in. Again, I'm going to limit the amount of pictures you can take just because, you know, more information to sift through. And then here's the little icons that you can click on. Each icon will tell you information about what it is, what it represents, and more detail about it. So, for example, you can go to this one. That's the pop-up menu where you can report. Okay, so like this is an example of one. So like this little icon that will pop up, you click on it, it'll say small wildfire breaking out in parks, down power line, civilians avoid at all costs. So each little one's going to have different things. Except these little icons, they're going to be people like EMT or police officers or firefighters, and each one's they're going to have like locations and all that stuff. Keep going. That's an example of one. What they're doing, yeah. It'll show you things not crossable, roads that are blocked or obstructed.
Oh, you actually can't hear this, but it's TV.
Okay.
Time's up. Okay, that's it, yeah.
All right, great job, guys. What feedback and questions do we have? I'm curious about your program. Is this a visual representation? Is there any programming going on as well?
Do you remember when I showed you guys on my computer the mouse software how it works? By clicking on that's how it works. We thought this might be easier since they don't let us post the program on the thing.
It is easier. I like that representation. Is the programming moving along with the visual?
Yeah, everything actually works pretty well. I like how it works actually.
You're back to your product and services slide. So can you, I missed it. What does bold mean on those?
Does what mean?
Bold and underlined.
Bold and underlined?
Those are changes from last week.
Okay. And is everything ranked? Maybe the products and services would be ranked, but the game creators, are those ranked in number of like how many times they popped up in interviews or in beneficiary interviews or anything like that?
We don't have any ranking system. No.
Okay.
I think they should be.
It's supposed to be.
Okay.
Supposed to.
Yeah. All right.
Because you're gonna start addressing the pain. Your app should address the top pain reliever first, or explain why you're addressing number two. Like we can't figure out number one, but we're gonna work on number two, and hopefully that'll address number one. But if they're not prioritized, you don't know which one to focus any time on. That's something you can maybe update after your discussion tomorrow with, what's his name?
Shadrach Roberts.
Shadrach.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd just like to say, I think y'all have like passed you're on the top of the mountain and going down. I just see so much improvement in the quality of your thinking, and I can see the process of your thinking, so I just wanted to say congratulations.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
You guys mentioned like earlier in the semester talking about kind of like family members interacting to check on other family members in like a certain sector. Are you guys still like doing that?
Yeah, so ideally we want 2 different versions of the app, one for just people, and then one for first responders. That's the first responder version.
Okay.
Obviously, we don't want people to know exactly where other cops are in case they want to cause them harm or something like that. Yeah, so we just haven't made the people version yet.
I was just like talking about like the incident that happened yesterday in the Westminster Bridge, talking about how family members were calling a casualty bureau hotline to check on possible victims that were relative to their family, and the phone line was all backed up. And
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, that's definitely something we want to hit on with the second version of the app. Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about that?
I'm looking. Well, we kind of got some.
We keep going like different ways.
We got
I don't
some
know.
like earth-shattering news that we might have to completely rethink our MVP. So it's kind of weird now.
Tell us about that news.
Yeah, I was picking up on something there. Yeah,
The
what-
guy,
That's an important part of the presentation. We'd love to know about
the
it.
guy we're
We're not 100%
interviewing,
sure yet. That's why we didn't include it this week. But
like the guy we're interviewing tomorrow is like a big crowdsourcing website company.
He has a lot of our ideas.
And so we kind of like, that's where we were going to crowdsource, get information, but like we realized, okay, like they need to do stuff with that information. So that's why we're maybe thinking about tracking resources and tracking where first responders are, because like his website already provides crowdsourcing. So we need to do something else. Like maybe we could work with him. We're just going to ask him for his input, but
Does he provide an API? So you can pull his data and integrate it with yours?
that's like groups have used public and private crowdsourcing with him, so we're going to talk to him about that too. Like the Red Cross used his group for private crowdsourcing, and like we have a lot of questions for him.
You guys could always just rework or make his idea better too.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people have the
that's
same
hopefully
idea.
what we're gonna do. But yeah, we need to talk to him. That's what we have a big interview tomorrow with him.
Don't be intimidated by it. No.
That beginner's mindset is why you're here. Do not be intimidated by him being an expert. That is exactly why you're here. If experts would have already solved the problem if they could have. They're looking for perspective from beginners. So get out of that headset right now.
And your MVP is really good, and be prepared to share that with him, to show the work that you've done, because that's going to speak a lot to the amount of work that you've already accomplished, you know?
There's also several problems with like what they're using now. So if you just fix like one of those aspects, like just hone down on something, it might help you like move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Your time for feedback is up, and we look forward to hearing next week what happens.
Good job.
You do.
Good job.
Great.
Great.